Добрый день. Сегодня мы собрались здесь для того, чтобы поговорить о российских отечественных операционных системах, задачах, которые перед нами стоят, вызовах.
Right now, we're going to speak about Russian OS systems. We'll speak about the challenges, and I have invited wonderful experts
области.
in this topic,
По совместительству еще мои давние
and they also are friends and comrades. I would like to introduce them to you. Vladimir Telezhnikov,
разработки
the head of development of the security means
Linux в группе компании Astra,
in Astra Linux for Astra company, Alexey Khoroshilov,
специалист в Институте системного
significant specialist in the Institute of Russian Academy of Science. He participates in many projects related with security of operation systems.
Ильюдин,
And
который
Roman Ilyudin,
является директором разработки.
who is director of development of the operating system Aurora in an open mobile platform. And today we're speaking about Russian OS systems, operating systems. But the condition of this topic as of now.
Тон
So
разговора.
I would like to ask you specific questions. Let's begin that Western operating systems, they left Russian market. And we can say, hurrah, the space was released. Western vendors have left. Or, oh my God, we are responsible for all the infrastructure that we have right now. Okay, dear colleagues, let's discuss it.
Да, спасибо.
Vladimir.
Ну, на мой взгляд,
Yes, thank you. To my point of view, it seems that this situation has opened a lot of opportunities for us. First of all, it's the new field that was opened for us, and this is something that we've been expecting, and we've been waiting for this. We've been missing this in order to get some user experience, in order to understand which scenarios are demanded on the side of the business, on the side of our partners, on the side of our consumers, and what was missing as of today.
следует развиваться, где
And where should we develop, where should we reinforce
сосредоточиться
some of our efforts
выявить вот эти узкие моменты, в том числе
and find those narrow points related with security on which we have to work. And I would like to say that we do have some experience in this area. Some time has passed, and we've been ready for this. We were able to adapt to these. Not everything was as smooth as we would think so,
вынесли достаточно
but we did learn interesting lessons, and there is some perspective of good growth in the future.
Или состояние
So we can say the growth is under the load or stress in the company.
мы уже пережили.
Well, this period we have lived through,
На плато
and we already made to the plateau where we could implement, complete, develop, and share with others.
смотреть
And clients are ready to look at it
оптимизмом, да?
with optimism. Yes, we do have good experience of implementation, and the feedback is very positive. They are not afraid anymore, and we do have hope that
продуктовых,
our product
в том числе будет
portfolio will develop in the future, and it will be highly demanded by clients. They are not going to be afraid to replace it.
Стресс.
So who have passed from the first stress? Well, many of them did.
Хорошо,
They
спасибо.
don't have any more stress anymore. Okay, Alexei, what will you say about it? Well, I would like to say that definitely we see some positive things which will help companies to get more experience, including financial possibilities,
развивать свои продукты.
to develop their products. At the same time,
Что такой резкий переход
I think that such sharp transition is dangerous, that there's a problem of scalability which can stop
развивать продукты, так эти
in developing products on a good quality level. Can you explain it to me? What do you mean by that? Well, there's a lot of new clients
разнородными потребностями.
with different needs, and you have to scale team in order to be able to provide services to all of them. And
Как получить
I don't know how our colleagues are able to do that, to solve these problems, but I see a big threat
так эти клиенты остались довольны тем, что они.
in order to make clients happy with the product they're getting.
Это, конечно,
But generally speaking, this is a very good chance
рынки,
for getting stronghold in the market, building our own teams, our own competencies, and then feel confidently and move to other markets as well.
Появилась ниша, и мы можем
Fortunately, this niche was released, and then we can breathe freely. It was too sharp. Yeah,
Да, возвращаясь
too acute.
там,
Coming back to your question, what was the reaction? Oh my God, or finally.
окей, продолжаем
The
работать.
reaction was, okay, let's continue to work. First of all, because Our product, Aurora, is a mobile operating system, and in our sphere, vendors have not left. Android is with us. Operating system have stayed here, and what is very important, and our clients have understood that they can leave at any moment of time. And roughly speaking, those risks, which were hypothetical previously, right now we see that banks have felt it, and many other industries could feel these problems.
Но мы продолжаем работать, продолжаем.
But we continue working and competing even right now with Android in a corporate application
Смартфоны или
when mobile phone, smartphone, and a tablet are used even in the industry.
подтягивать.
And we have to improve features, some were better, some were worse. That's why I would like to say, drawing the line, that generally speaking, undoubtedly, like our colleagues said, conditions have changed, perception have changed.
Поняли, что
All vendors have understood that
то, что разрабатывают
you can rely on what is being developed in Russia. You cannot rely something that we don't control. But there is a market inertia, and we didn't overcome it.
Там
But you've said
продолжаем работать. Нет
that you continue working.
риска в том, что если
Aren't there any risks that if we live in the year 2019 and in those realities and we continue working in the same mode, that we are moving to lack of success? Well, I will speak for myself. I can say that we work in the same mode. We always been working, very densely, but right now, like Alexei said, because we see more demands,
быстрее реакции.
people expect faster reaction, and we have more work to do.
Это большая наша даже
Yes, this is a big task for the whole industry to be able to react to this, but on the other side, industry understands it,
что
and
другого пути нет, надо
that there is no other way, and we have to develop our own technologies. And this is in conditions
стрессом
that under the moral stress, we have not only business companies, but also the employees, developers.
такой
Yes.
интересный, непростой.
This is a very interesting time. So there is no definite answer. Yes, it is a challenge. It is a challenge, but definitely it's also an opportunity. So it's an opportunity which previously
наступило бы через 7 лет, да?
maybe would happen within 7 years, but right now the time have sped up.
Кто-то успеет бежать,
And some people will be able to run with the speed, some other people will not be able to run with the speed. And you said the word challenge is the next question that I would like to speak about. Which challenges you see for local domestic operating systems? And I'm not just want to speak about companies that you represent or organizations, but maybe in a general sense, communities, industries.
Как вы это видите?
How do you see it?
Ну, возможно, здесь надо отметить то, что
Possibly we should point out that transition to domestic operating systems
проблема с
is not the only problem
потребителей необходимо
where
еще адаптировать.
not only problem that consumers face. You need to adopt big amount of software that was used previously, office packages, some service around surroundings, and you shouldn't forget about development.
Ну, я
That's why perhaps I will tell you that ecosystem
и все
products should develop, and all the developers of the OSs, they should think about it. We should provide some layer between the hardware and software with the consideration of adaptation of the software for Russian platforms, for Russian operating systems. But at the same time, we would like to call developers of the software, special software, so that they would also review their own approach,
нет необходимости целиться, да, в
because there is no goal to have foreign vendors. You need to come to us with problems of transition to domestic OS and solve this problem together, because simultaneously development of vendor-related operating system,
всего софта.
we need to solve the problem of migration of the hardware and applied software which is used on the side of the clients. We cannot do it simultaneously. But how these relations are happening?
Прикладной
Vendor who produces applied software comes to the OS vendor and they tell you that they want to work for you. First of all, these are partnership agreements.
Все-таки отмечу, да, что мы развиваем в том
Also would like to say that we develop the company from the point of view of the demand of the business
программное обеспечение,
for adapting the software and providing complex product
сервис
where there are services in the software and also the software for realization of
станций,
workstations of our partners' clients.
То есть это движение.
Perhaps this is the only way. So it's a double-sided road. Yes, from one side, you try to forecast what the market wants, operating system, and there should be a movement from the applied software so that operating system would give the possibility to use it. Definitely, definitely. Otherwise, it's impossible to lift this industry alone.
Единый подход от вендора.
Like there's a simple approach from operating system vendors, or every operating system vendor says, well, I want to use these interfaces. Is there any division, or maybe there's a single movement?
На текущий момент
Well, at least at the current moment of time, everybody understand that this should be a single position, single entry point. Well, it's understandable that we should have wise competition on the market of information system. Nobody cancels it. It makes us only stronger. That's why, yes, if it's an honest competition.
естественно, конечно,
Yes, of course, definitely.
стараемся в том числе играть честно.
We are trying to play honestly and openly from this point of view. As for development of the software, there should be some unified platforms for the development.
Естественно, какие-то университеты
And of course, unified platforms for security provisioning, for example, competency centers which are being created, and Alexei will speak a little bit more about them, in order for us not just develop the software and some service software, but we need to develop safe software considering all the modern risks.
Нет возможности уже там.
We don't have a possibility to be relaxed.
Получается, да?
We need to agree and find common grounds for each other. This is about the challenges that you see.
Отечественными операционными системами
Challenges for domestic operating system, developers, exploiting companies. Well, in the beginning, continuing what Vladimir was speaking about, definitely cooperation with applied programs which
Хотите поработать на отечественном,
should have a desire to work on domestic operating systems.
который
This is one of the challenges that has to be solved. And from this point of view, we have to find some mechanism
разработчик
so that not every developer of applied software would go to every operating system and try to solve their problems individually on the individual basis. I don't see any mechanisms of solving this problem. Not yet.
в идеале они
But ideally,
должны
we should have them on the basis of the feedback from those problems that will appear. Maybe,
Может быть,
explain it to me, please.
думаем, что вот там
Maybe it's in vain that we think that
своим ПО
developer came with his own software, adopted it for Astra, for Alpha, for this and for that, and for every new adoption spent a lot of time. Maybe he could do it for the first one, and for the second and third one, it will work automatically. And maybe they will figure out that there are some pain points on which they have to work and find some unified solutions,
соответственно,
and therefore find an agreement between vendors how to simplify the life of domestic developers.
Касательно взаимодействия.
Well, this is about communication between operating systems and applied software. But as for the challenges in the framework of system software development, what do you see here?
возникают вопросы
From this point of view, we have a lot of questions
масштабирования.
which I've been speaking about scalability problems, because we have to solve a lot of problems simultaneously, trying to satisfy your users and developers of the software which come to you,
На высоком уровне качества, то есть
and stay on a high level of quality, adding new components,
исправляя уязвимости,
including fixing vulnerabilities, making new versions,
выпускаемое ПО на
and keep the software on a good quality level, which is not going to make clients shake from fear, which requires serious processes, internal processes of testing for the components which are being produced for each one of them, the systematic integration and testing on the level of the operating system, relations with different hardware pieces, relations with different applied services. And this is a very complicated work which cannot be done within one day. That's why those developers who've been building these processes in the course of many years, they will feel themselves much better.
Они преимущества за счет своей
Well,
развитой
they will get an advantage due to their continuous integration system, because they have higher quality, or somebody pushes them to make it in the current conditions, to make good software. Well, right now, I didn't see anybody pushing.
пользователи
We do see that users do react
решения
to
достаточно.
bad quality solutions very boldly.
Это там пока единственная обратная связь, которая
And this is the only feedback that happens right now. But speaking about security-related questions and providing, I wanted to speak about it next. It's an important topic. Roman, which challenges do you see? What challenges? Let's begin with the positive. We are at the positive hug days.
Заключается в том, что
Good news is that, in principle, generally, domestic vendors of operating systems,
хороший базис.
they have a good basis for them. First of all, they exist. B, they work.
Переходим к следующему.
Now we move to the next level of complexity, which is
Нужно сделать
around these operating systems, we have to create good ecosystem. And then we start competing not with
операционные системы
how good those operating systems are working, but with the market and with
к технологиям приучил рынок.
which technologies
Например,
developers love.
хороший такой
For example,
инновационный пример.
good example,
iOS
handbook example. iOS, Android, they have their own blocks
или сегменты
and segments
разработчиков, что они умеют.
of developers. They work with certain frameworks, with certain languages, and even if they want, it's very hard for them to relearn.
Плюс. В
For
качестве
example, they use C++ as the main programming language. It's a nightmare for any Android developer.
него нужен Kotlin. Он привык.
They need Kotlin. They're used to Kotlin.
Ребята, которые разработали iOS, они
And guys who've been developing iOS, they love Swift. And the most interesting thing is that companies have invested tens of billions of rubles in those developers and in the code they have. And the main challenge for vendors, Russian vendors, is to find mechanisms to
разработчики, которые уже научены под другие
those developers who are used to work with other tools could develop for domestic operating systems, and cross-platform frameworks could help them if they are used with other Western operating systems.
Flutter,
For example, Kotlin, multi-platform, Flutter, maybe web.
фреймворком, потому
It's a
что он работает
cross-platform framework because it works on the basis of browser engine, or find our own tools which will be understandable to that group of developers, and it's a big group. Can you imagine?
мобильный сегмент.
I'm not even speaking just about mobile applications. How many Android developers are in Russia? Big number. Big number.
Их к отечественной операционной
And bring them to domestic operating system, it's a big challenge. And then we have a second challenge that partially I've mentioned.
платформ. Это
Speaking about cross-platform, these are browsers. Unfortunately, in Russia,
по
we did have a good basis for operating systems. We
с вызовами
can fight challenges of system programming. Maybe we need more people, but we do have bases. Where can we grow?
являются
But the monopolist is Chromium by engines.
в других
And
странах.
both in Russia and in other countries, if you have a competency for
Браузер
the development of browser engine, and browser is the operating system. Yes, by code, it's more than Linux code, and it's not the worst thing. But the worst thing is that due to the fact that there is a monopolist, they don't let anybody into development of this engine.
ну, он псевдо.
It's a pseudo-opened. Yeah, it's pseudo-opened. And it's a real challenge because we all
Идем в браузер.
are waking up and we go to browser. And free internet,
Какой бы он не был свободным,
no matter how free it is,
калитку, которая
it does have a gateway which is opened by Google.
вызов, и здесь
And
это
this is a real challenge. And we can say it's a state objective because one company cannot solve it. And even one state cannot solve it. Wonderful, cool. Thank you. This is very important. Okay, let's switch to security.
Меня больше всего тема
It's
безопасности.
the topic that worries me, security of operating systems. I'm working this area many years. We don't have a lot of time, but we can speak about the most important things that we see. What do you see from the point of view of security of OS, as operating system? What has changed in recent couple of years? Vladimir?
Ну,
Thank
по
you.
поводу безопасности, здесь я, конечно,
As for the security, I would like to say that
продвигаем идеологию того, что
we are promoting the ideology that inbuilt information protection system, this is something that without which modern operating systems cannot exist effectively, especially from the point of view of cybersecurity. That's number one. But honestly, I would like to bring to your attention the
наличие
fact that
это
availability of protection, it's good,
внутри на уровне
detecting something inside and level of operating system, this is also good and right thing to do.
и прочее.
Closing different vulnerabilities, this is also good, but please pay attention. We need to pay attention to the fact that operating systems contain a lot of software on top of it.
Точка конечная, да, в автоматизированных
It's not the only point in automated systems where there could be a big number of components which are used, and at the same time, attacks of criminals or fraudsters, no matter how you call them, they can be very diverse, different, diverse.
что средства
And the question is that
мониторинга, да,
the means of monitoring, for example, the same scanners
они в том
or
числе
CM systems,
под
they have to be adopted for the conditions of the functioning and peculiarities of the functioning of domestic operating systems. Yeah.
почему бы нам не научиться
Therefore, why can't we teach CMs to work with these means of information protection which are available on board of different operating systems? Why can't they take in consideration and correlate those events which are happening there? Because right now we're facing such challenges. Number of vulnerabilities is growing.
конференции в том числе?
And yesterday during the conference,
Вставал вопрос о том, что
there was a current question
наверное,
that systems without vulnerabilities, well, it's very hard to find them. Because anyway, there will be time lag from the point of view of their removal, and there's a need to apply some preventive measures and mitigation measures. But in order to apply those mitigation measures, these detect means and discovery means and scanning means,
понимали,
they should know them and they should understand how this system works
какая есть у нее особенность ее инфраструктуры. Мы
and what peculiarities of it for the infrastructure. Yes, we're ready to develop in this area. We invest a lot into this currently, and of course, we are working with regulators. We fill databases of threats. We work with regulatory frameworks which are provided to us. We review the level of criticality. We do the adaptation of cooperation with CMs in order to show them all those rules and correlations to which they have to pay attention,
ситуация
especially in some non-typical situations and non-typical processes or user behavior within the operating system. Thank you. Alexei? About security, what?
По этому направлению.
Да, безусловно.
У нас остается 3 минутки, поэтому тезисно.
We have 3 minutes left.
Очень
And then we'll ask a blitz question. Okay, briefly.
безопасность это, конечно, не статическая.
Security is not a statical but a dynamic property. Today you are safe and tomorrow you are not safe, and that's why this is extremely important to build processes on all stages of development, stage of development of new code, supporting the existing code, and the stage of
Обновлений, там, от
receiving, updating
кода,
of adopted code from the open source and other suppliers, on the stage of assembling and delivering your products to the end users,
уязвимости уже после того,
and discovering vulnerabilities in the process of work. So the whole chain. Yes, and
деятельность
I would point out here the activity which is done in Technological Research Center Security, which was organized under STEC, where we were able to collect all the interested companies
там тоже ядро.
which use the nucleus in their solution, and it's been extended the kernel for other components, and it allows us to unite our efforts to research security with the help of advanced methods of phasing, statistical analysis, and all other adopted components, and by this improve the quality of those solutions which we are producing. And realistically speaking,
В рамках
we can do it within the framework of existing resources,
бюджетов.
Нет, это
not getting outside of the budgets.
отличный прецедент.
Linux Center is a good precedent which defines the tone. It's a good initiative. Thank you very much. And this is wonderful that everybody participates in it. Yes,
Почти
everybody.
подводим итоги, но давай.
We are drawing the line. 30 seconds.
По трендам.
What trends?
Ресурсов и приложений.
Isolation of resources and application. It's a trend. Isolation, well, protection from the protected execution environments,
Аттестация, удаленная
and remote attestation. Attestation, it's a trend.
Мобильных операционных
These are the main things for the mobile operating system, mobile and non-mobile. This is where everybody is going to move.
По сути, да.
Basically, that's like it. Basically, that's like it. And we are looking at open mobile platform development
Тоже ведущий прецедент в плане мобильных.
because leading precedent from the mobile operating systems. Yeah, let's do it. Everybody's looking at you.
старая.
Thank you. Thank you. We're trying.
Эксперимент. Последний блиц-вопрос.
Well, I have experiment. The last blitz question. You have unlimited resources.
У вас такая
time, money, everything. You have this magic wand in your hands. What would you do as a first thing, in one sentence, for Russian domestic operating systems in order to shift this from the dead point? I don't say that we're at the dead point, but this magic wand. Well, because I'm a representative of scientific community, I will give you the answer in the following way. We have to teach people operating systems, and we have to learn this operating system. We have to implement them from schools. We have to teach people how to work on domestic operating systems, software, platforms, and at the same time, we should teach people how to develop this operating system so that we would develop not something foreign, but we would develop something of our own. So if there is internal means of protection, let's develop them, improve them together.
обучение.
Thank you.
Ну, я бы
Learning,
сказал, что
teaching.
система
I would say that operating systems, well, everything's okay without them, but I would pay attention to the hardware.
тема,
So your magic wand is for the hardware. Yeah, it's a big stopping point, especially for the development of the operating system. Yes, I would invest in the school of development of libraries and frameworks. We don't have this school. We used to have in advanced. They did have a good experience, but in order to be successful, we need to have tools so that ecosystem would grow. Magic wand for the tools. Okay, in this limited amount of time, we discussed most important thing, domestic operating systems. Don't be afraid of them, use them.
Огромные усилия для того, чтобы
We apply a lot of efforts to make them better, safer, more trustworthy, and our own. Thank you.